Hey, apes. Um, let's talk about getting ready to read some King Lear. So this video is going to help you prep and get you ready for some King Lear action. Um, so first thing is I want to talk about our bookmark. I had these all printed off and ready to go. They're at school. I should have just given them to you that last Friday before we left, but I wasn't thinking about it. But I'm going to link this in Schoology. So if you want to, you can print it off and then cut it out for yourself and put it in your bookmark. I know that I do a lot better with annotations if I have my bookmark there that tells me what my annotations are going to be. So let's kind of go through what we're going to be doing. We're going to highlight in yellow the most famous lines or line identification sort of things. They're really famous lines in Lear. There's not very many in Lear. Not like Romeo and Juliet, where everybody knows, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo, that whole thing, right? There's a couple, though, that we'll highlight in yellow. And then the thing that we're going to be doing more often is important plot lines. Lines that we can go back if we need to review Lear and remind ourselves what happened in the play or happened in a certain act. We can just look at the green lines. We also will be every once in a while underlining words that we might need to discuss. And then when we see fate working on characters, so we have to remember that in Lear and all Shakespeare plays, characters don't act for themselves. They don't make choices. And this is present in Lear as well. Maybe not so much as like Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet or Macbeth or something like that, where fate is really ever present. This one, maybe a little less so. But anytime we see that, we're going to put fate. And then notes in the margins, and I wrote lots of notes in the margins. I'm going to be using proper Shakespearean notation. So, for example, this is what I'll give you if I say I want to reference a certain line. I'm not going to tell you the page number necessarily. I'm going to tell you the act, the scene, and then the line numbers. And so to read this, this is King Lear, Act 2, Scene 3, lines 54 through 57. And if we were doing in-text citations, it would look like this. If we're just referencing Lear, we're going to put the author's name, Scene 3, Act 3, Scene 2, line 115. But if we're referring to multiple plays, let's say we're quoting from Lear and from some other Shakespeare play, we're going to put the title of the play. So Lear, Act 3, Scene 2, line 115. And then whenever I do Lear, I sometimes have students that will ask me, Mr. Allen, why do we read King Lear in your class? Because oftentimes the traditional senior level Shakespeare play is Hamlet, right? That's what people normally read. And I don't read Hamlet. I think that Hamlet is not my favorite. And I think that Hamlet is kind of difficult, more difficult than it needs to be. And you really can't write about Hamlet all that often. But you know me, I like looking at the test and seeing what titles come up. So for the last, however so long, 20 years, I've looked at what titles are coming up, Shakespeare titles. So Midsummer Night's Dream has come up 3 times. Hamlet's come up 5. Romeo and Juliet 5. Macbeth 6. Othello 10. King Lear has been on the test 18 times. That's more than any of the other plays. And the last time it was on the play was 2019. And then before that, I think it was 2017. Even though it wasn't on the 2015 or 2016 test, it would have worked for those years. And so I feel like AP College Board is trying to tell us you should be teaching Lear. And while Lear is maybe one of the lesser known plays, I think it's one of Shakespeare's more mature plays. And you can really see him blossom as a writer. Like some of his early plays are kind of rough. This one, he's definitely been writing for a while, and you can tell. And it's good because it works for so many prompts on the AP test, because there's such a variety of things happening in Lear, and there's multiple plot lines that are all converging at the same time. So that is why I teach Lear and I don't teach Hamlet or something else. So if you want to print this out, the other thing that's on here is tips for reading Shakespeare. I'm not going to go through all of these with you. But if you want to print this out and have your tips, I think the most important thing up here is these bulleted points like thou, thee, thy. Those are all just words for you. And so sometimes that trips people up. So if you want to print this out, I'll link it in Schoology and you can print it. Now what I need you to do is I need you to go to your blue book. This is the digital blue book. Woo! And I need you to go to page 21. So pause while you're going and finding that. And we need to go through some characters and kind of talk about their descriptions. I'm going to get my copy of the book so that I can go along with you and look at my notes. So, see, King Lear. So let's go through and in your blue book, you just write down the descriptions. This really helps for us to understand the characters, right? So King Lear. King Lear is our first guy. He's our main character. So King Lear is nearing retirement. He is the kind of king that went out and did wars. He was really good at war, not so good at staying home and ruling the country. And anytime you need to pause and write things down, just go ahead and pause the video, write things down. He doesn't want to do the kingly responsibility. So he doesn't want to sit in his throne room and have people come and talk to him anymore. He doesn't want to go to meetings. He would be fine going and doing another war or two, but he doesn't want to do any of the like administrative stuff that a king has to do, which is part of being a king. And so he's ready to pass the crown on, right? He's ready to pass it on to his children. The problem is he has no sons. All he has is 3 daughters. All right, so next we have Goneril. And yes, Goneril sounds like gonorrhea. And I believe that that's maybe purposeful. She's supposed to sound bad because she is evil. She is King Lear's first daughter, and she's awful. She's wicked and she's plotting. She wants power for herself. And she doesn't like her father. She thinks her father is old and senile and he doesn't know what he's doing. And she would love to take over and just be the Queen of England. Then we have the Duke of Albany. And in the play, we just call him Albany, right? And so the Duke of Albany is Goneril's husband. And so he married Goneril, poor guy. He is a good guy, right? He genuinely wants what's best for ancient England. He wants to lead the country and to lead the country to good things. And he's fine if Lear stays king. He doesn't care. He's fine being the Duke of Albany, right? But he is kind of a footstool. Goneril walks all over him and is really mean to him and makes him go and do things. I'm going to make this bigger just a little bit. There you go. Makes him go and do things that he necessarily doesn't want to do. He's a good guy, but she walks all over him. Then we have Oswald. And Oswald is Goneril's personal servant. He's like a messenger, and he goes and does whatever Goneril tells him to. And he is a slime ball. We do not like Oswald. Oswald is bad news. And he is, sometimes you'll see that servants become like their masters. He's very much become like Goneril. He is wicked and plotting and evil. He's a bad guy. Then we have Regan. And I've heard it pronounced both Regan and Reagan. I think it's actually Regan because it's English, it's British. But I think sometimes we call her Reagan because we had Ronald Reagan, right? The president. But she's Regan, right? She is Lear's second daughter. And she is less evil than Goneril, but she still is evil. She's bad. She is a follower. She will do whatever Goneril tells her to do, which is perfect because Goneril loves bossing people around. And she would like to be in power, but she's not the type that's going to go out of her way to do it for herself, right? If Goneril makes the plan and does all the work, Regan's right there by her side. What she does like to do is she likes to get men to do her dirty work. she like kind of gets off on that. When she sends a man out to do something evil, it really turns her on and makes her feel good, makes her feel powerful. But she's also evil. So right now, Lear has 3 daughters. 2 out of the 2 that we've discussed are evil. Not a good sign. But then we have the Duke of Cornwall, and more evil, right? We call him Cornwall. He is married to Regan, and he is probably the worst of the bunch, right? He represents an abuse of power in government, and he is what we call a sadist. sadist. He's a sadist, which means that he gets off on causing pain in other people, and we're going to see this in the play. Like he really enjoys that, and it really turns him on to hurt other people. And so you wonder about this weird relationship between Regan and Cornwall, because she loves telling people to go and hurt other people and to do dirty work for her, and he really gets off on it. It's like they're a perfect pair. He is evil, evil, evil. Worst guy in the play. All right, then we get to Cordelia, and Cordelia is the 3rd daughter, and she's good. Thank goodness we have one that's good. She's the good daughter, and she loves her father, and she is unmarried, right? The other 2 have been married off, and so Lear really likes her. This is Lear's favorite daughter. He loves Cordelia because she's so good to him, and she takes care of him, and she listens to him, and she's not evil like the other 2. So because Cordelia is unmarried, her father's trying to marry her off. So he has 2 suitors. He has the King of France and he has the Duke of Burgundy. We call the King of France just France in the play. And the King of France is awesome. He is good, good, good. And this would be really good to marry Cordelia off to the King of France, because then we would have a relationship. We'd have an ally with France, which, England and France have been warring for thousands of years. And so they're always trying to strengthen that bond between England and France. But the problem is then we're also giving part of the right to rule Britain away to France, because then France has a claim on the throne because he married into this family. And so maybe that's problematic. Burgundy, right, is the other suitor. We just call him Burgundy, Duke of Burgundy. We call him Burgundy. He is pretty good. He is more interested in the dowry that he's going to get from King Lear for marrying Cordelia. Like, he likes her, but he's like, if I could get some land and some titles, that would be awesome as well. Like, that would be even better. And then we have Cordelia a second time. I don't know why. So there's only one Cordelia. Oh, look. And then we have King of France again and the Duke of Burgundy. What the heck? That's weird. Okay. The next thing we have is the Earl of Gloucester. And I know it looks like Gloucester. It's Gloucester because British, right? So it's the Earl of Gloucester, and we call him Gloucester. And the Earl of Gloucester is one of Lear's best friends. They used to go to war together, and he's like an advisor in the court, and we really like the Earl of Gloucester. He's of the older generation. He also has children, and he is Lear's loyal friend. Whatever Lear tells him to do, he's going to do. Gloucester is a good guy. Then his 2 children, we have Edgar and Edmund. Edgar is Gloucester's legitimate child. So Edgar Gloucester. And Edgar is smart, and he's rich, and he's a good guy, and he's been studying a lot, and he's really logical, and he's a good son. Edmund, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. So Edgar's the illegitimate son. Edmund is the illegitimate son. So he is a bastard. And we can use the word bastard because we're using it in the proper context, right? So Gloucester was not married to Edmund's mother when they had Edmund. Edmund is the exact opposite. He is awful. And like we said, he's a bastard, but he's also the other meaning of the word bastard. He's a jerk, and he wants power, and he feels like he has no way to get that power because he's illegitimate. And at that time, remember, illegitimate children can't inherit anything. So Edgar's going to inherit everything. Edmund, nothing for you, kid. You might as well go join an army or something. The way I remember, because they both start with an ED and it's hard to remember, Edgar's the good guy because he has a G in his name, right? G equals good. So Edgar is good. And Edmund is the bad guy because he doesn't have a G in his name. Then we have the Earl of Kent. We call him just Kent. Oh, it's my favorite character. Kent is the loyal knight. So he has sworn his sword to Lear, and he is only going to serve him for the rest of his life. So he knelt down and offered Lear his sword, and he says, I want to follow you for the rest of my life. I want to be your loyal knight. I want to be your bodyguard. I want to be your protection. And I will take no wife. I will have no lands. I will have no household. I swear a fealty to you. And we see that in like Game of Thrones. That's the easiest way to. So if you've watched Game of Thrones, Lear is Brienne of Tarth, right? She doesn't want to own lands or anything. She just wants to be a knight for the rest of her life. And the Fool is our last character. And in a lot of plays, the Fool is a throwaway character, but not in Lear. The Fool is actually really smart, and he's sometimes the only character in a scene that's actually making any sense, and he's very logical, and he criticizes Lear. So he's, a fool who comes into the court and he juggles and he tells jokes and he makes fun of people. He's the entertainment, and he is kind of funny from time to time in the play, but he's more there for social commentary than for anything else. There's some other like minor characters that will come and go, but these are the major characters that you need to know. There's doctors and messengers and knights and stuff, but these are the major characters you need to know. So make sure that you've written down all their character descriptions, and then you should be good to start reading the play. So good luck starting Act 1, Scene 1, and I'll see you next time. Maybe. Okay, bye.